Welcome to the Way of the Earth School video on rocket stove making. Today we'll be constructing a simple travel size rocket stove. Some of the elements of a rocket stove are this little shelf that the wood sits on. And this allows the air to pass underneath the shelf and come up into the fire chamber itself. Also, you'll notice that we have some insulation around it to increase the burn temperature and have a more clean and efficient burn. Here are some of the items we need to make the rocket stove. We have a number of cans that the coating has been burnt off. We have some clay slip, and we have some perlite. We also have a few tools here: a tin snip, pliers, some marking device, something to poke a hole in the can, and some gloves for safety. So we're going to begin building the rocket stove by looking at the cans. We have two cans that are with the tops removed and the coating burnt off, and one can with no bottom or top. We also have one of these 6-inch number 10 cans with the top removed. I'm going to begin with one of the cans that still has a bottom. I'm going to poke a hole in it. I'm going to take the can that doesn't have a bottom, and it's going to be fitting like this. So I need to kind of trace with my pencil or marker around it. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is really just a form to hold the insulation. I'm going to start with my little hole. I'm using tin snips, or you can pry it with your pliers. I'm going to try to cut carefully. On my mark. Now that I've finished cutting my hole in this one can, I'm going to make sure it fits. The next step is to cut a hole in this can. And I want to cut the hole so that this other can is the same height at the top. This provides room for insulation underneath. So I'm going to mark at the bottom here. And then I'm going to draw another circle there. Now I've cut a hole in my larger can. Now it's time to put our cans together. We're going to take the can with the hole in it and our tube can here, and we're going to put this can through, and then on the inside we're going to try to fit them both together here. And we'll try and get it in the middle, hopefully, like so. So here we have some perlite, which is a soil amendment often used in potting mixes. And this is a fireproof insulation material. If you want to be more primitive, you can use some wood ashes. But this binds together with the clay and makes a sort of a primitive cement. So I have this water and clay mixed together, like a clay slip. Here comes the fun part. We get to mix it together. You just need enough clay and water to make it all turn brown. And give it a little bit of structural support. Once we have it well mixed, if we can make a little ball with it, then that's pretty good. We have our assembled cans here. And the first step is getting some of this perlite clay mix underneath our setup here. So I'm just going to pour some in, shake it around. And then I can also tamp it with a flat-ended stick. Add a little more and keep packing it until we reach the top. So I'm finishing adding my perlite to the outside. Every couple inches I've been tamping it down and making sure that it's nice and solid. Once we've added insulation all the way to the top, we'll clean out the insulation that's left over inside the burn chamber. And we'll start with our last can that we have. And this is what we're going to use to make the shelf. So the first step is to crush the can flat. I'm going to put the can on a stump. I have a rock. Let's see if I can do this. You want to get it as flat as possible. Pretty good. And now we're going to fold over one or both the edges so that it can slide right in there. So I'm going to kind of line it up at the end, right there maybe. I'll start folding over the side. I flattened my shelf can out so that it can slide in and rest about halfway down or so, maybe even a little more. And the inside of both horizontal cans comes just a little bit into the vertical can. The next step, if we want to cook on this stove, is to make some sort of device to hold the pot up. Give it a little air gap underneath. If you happen to have a gas grill, then you're good to go. But if not, you could use a few rocks. So I'm going to put 3 rocks in here. We just want to lift it up an inch to half an inch or something, just to allow the gases to escape and cook our food. Now we just need to let this dry out and we can light it up and play with our new rocket stove. I just want to give you a few tips on how to more successfully operate your new travel rocket cook stove. The first thing is to always empty the ashes out before you use it. And you can do that by just turning it over and shaking out the ashes. Too many ashes in it will slow down the air and will make it not burn so well. The next thing is to burn dry wood. If your wood is even a little bit wet, it will slow down the fire and it won't burn as cleanly. Another common mistake people often make is to overfeed it. They cram a whole bunch of wood in there and that slows down it and it makes a very smoky fire and burns a lot more wood. Also, over time, the rocket stove will degrade. The metal will rust and you can easily replace them by pulling out the metal components and replacing them with new ones, after you've burnt off the plastic coating on the cans, of course. Well, I hope you had fun building your rocket stove, and I wish you many successful and efficient cooking operations on your new travel cook stove. Thanks.